30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and Young Guns Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. For now, it's a beautiful Thursday in Nashville, Tennessee. Not so sure about tomorrow. Either way, we will broadcast live from First Horizon Park, where the Sounds will open their 2023 baseball season. Very excited to be at a ballpark. It's good stuff. Today is opening day in the bigs. That's also, for me, a big time. Yesterday, if you happened to watch the show, you found out a couple of things. Watson Brown's going to take 3.5 months sabbatical from the show, and Kelly Holcomb will join us, former NFL quarterback, played 14 years in the league. He will sit in Watson's chair during that time. Excited about having Kelly. Will be very excited to get Watson back later in the summer. We also made an announcement yesterday that our show will move to a permanent studio in the Fordyce Center out in Bellevue. To say the least, we are incredibly excited about that. There's a lot of foot traffic in and out of the Fordyce Center in Bellevue, and we're going to lure a few people who are out there into listeners and viewers of our show. I will also tell you that probably early next week, I'll be able to make another announcement that I'm very excited about. And as soon as I've got all the, how do you say it, I's dotted and T's crossed, you're going to like what I'm going to throw out there. Let's go up to the plateau and say hello to Coach Watson Brown. His final day will be Monday before he gets out and goes, yeah, I'm done.
I don't look at it that way.
No, I know you
But
don't.
I am looking forward to Brenda and I getting to do some things together. When you do something like this, it kind of controls those days because it sits where it sits. There's just not a lot you can do. We both enjoy it and we'll be excited about coming back. You'll probably get a fresher guy when I get back, tell you the truth.
Look forward to that.
Not that that would matter to you, but
looks to me like you may have hit a few today.
yes, I got to play 7 holes before Brenda and I had to go do something else. So I'm in a deal where I can go play as many holes as I want to pay one time a year, and it's kind of like a membership thing.
You're
so
a season ticket holder.
I'll play 5 holes. I'll play 7 holes. I'll hit balls on the range.
Yeah.
Just kind of mess around.
Good for you. Billy,
George?
Are you a golfer?
Not much. When COVID hit, I started becoming a free golfer. A lot of the metro courses opened up.
Yes, I took advantage of that as well.
And I felt like I got decent, to a level of man, I can go out and maybe play in a tournament and shoot well. But yeah, the free metro golf was fun while it lasted.
I can tell you that while I took advantage of it, I don't feel like I got a ton better.
But was it crowded, guys? Was there a lot of people out there when you
There were certain days. Yeah. I think Friday, Saturday, Sundays got pretty crowded. It got kind of hectic. We'd like to go earlier in the week, kind of during the day. And they didn't
even have the clubhouse open or anything, right?
No, didn't have that open. They didn't have the
were the greens mowed, or did they keep the course decent?
Yeah.
I mean,
where I played was Harpeth Hills.
Yeah.
Let me throw out.
Was it crowded there, George? Did a lot of people do that?
It was. I mean, there was nothing bad about it. You could get 9 in about an hour and a half, and it was great fun in a time where there was zero fun.
Well, they didn't have the pins in though. That was the tough part about it.
Yeah, who cares? I mean, by the time I get there, good Lord.
Yeah, I don't need the pin anyway.
What the hell's the point by the time I get there? I mean, we start out the hole with a Democrat in office, and then by the time I get there, we have a Republican. I mean,
doesn't matter anyway.
Let me say this about my golf game. I end up in some places that not many of you do.
I've got a great story for when we get time to tell about Augusta when I played there. And you have to have caddies and you have to walk.
Go ahead.
You want it quickly now, or you want to move on? I can tell it later.
Mm-hmm. Tell it.
You want it?
Yep.
Well, we're on 10, we're on 12, the par 3. And I've hit a ball. I get up and get my club, and the caddy says, "This is what you need to hit." Well, I must have been pumped. I flushed it, and there's a golf course up above 10. There's a country club up above 10 at Augusta.
I didn't know.
I hit the ball over the fence into the fairway of that other golf course.
No.
And the caddy who had been there for 30 years says, "I've caddied for a lot of people. I have never seen a golf ball there in all my time."
Congratulations.
Congratulations. You hit a ball where I've never seen a ball go.
Oh my goodness.
That's almost an accomplishment. George, we ready to hop in? We got opening day baseball games going on all across the country.
Yes.
The one of note, Atlanta leads Washington 4-2 in the bottom of the 6th.
That's the good news. The bad news is
Max Fried left early with what was it, David? The left
hamstring discomfort.
Left hamstring discomfort. So
we don't need that.
No.
Good Lord, we don't need that.
So the bad injury luck continues for the Braves. They need that to not last a while. So we'll keep you updated on that one throughout the show. But George.
No, you'll know by some facial expressions. For all the winning they've done, they've won 5 division titles in a row. They have not won an opening day game in a while. Their payroll on opening day is $199 million, which ranks 8th in Major League Baseball. Just thought I'd pass that on.
So quit getting up. They're throwing money around pretty good then.
Well, yeah. I mean, they did win a World Series and made a buttload of money off of it. I mean, it's about damn time they spend some money.
Well, I mean, you're always on them about being too with their money, and they're number 8 out of how many teams?
30.
Out of 30 teams, you can't fuss
30,
too much.
32. What do we
32
got?
32 in football.
30. Okay.
30. I know.
Yeah, I mean, they should be. Hell, they won a world title for that company.
Was that when we were born? How long ago was that?
It's been, 16 months, 18 months since they won that. That was a cheap shot. That's why I'm looking forward to Kelly, because Kelly won't even know they won a world title.
We start talking baseball. Kelly, yeah.
Kelly says, "What's baseball?"
I don't get the feeling. I don't know this. In fairness, I don't know that he's not a baseball fan, but I just have a suspicion that
his eyes won't perk up like they will in football.
No, but I mean, Watson, that was such a cheap shot.
Hey.
Watson comes with him so relaxed.
Poor Billy and I listened to this all last year.
Oh, poor Billy.
Who won the last World Series, boys?
Yeah.
We're still the World Series champs till there's another World Series. Well, he can't say that no more, Billy.
No.
That's over with finally. We do not have to listen to that. And we're Braves fans.
Right.
But he kind of turns us against them with all of this.
Yeah.
Who is the defending world champion?
The Astros. The team that you boned all year long with the drums and
they do this.
They won it without. They won it without that.
Do you know that for sure?
Well, they didn't get caught, so they won it without it.
That's a great attitude. Do we have an update, or are we just gonna
I don't know what we're doing here.
Listen to him all day.
The Preds are in Pittsburgh.
Listen, we got to get him out of here by 4:30 because that's when they
that's when we eat supper, right?
That's when they serve the meal at the home.
The home opens for supper at 4:30.
The special opening day meal.
Just think, Billy, you will not have to listen to any old jokes for 3 months.
Well, the
No
roles are
old
going to
jokes.
the roles are going to be reversed. Kelly's going to be
Oh.
throwing all those jokes at George.
God.
Yeah. How old would Kelly be? High 50s, maybe mid 50s?
That sounds about right.
I
Maybe
would say he's over 50.
yeah, maybe low
I think.
50s.
Low 50s, maybe.
Played 14 years in the NFL.
So you've had one 10 years older than you, and now you're going to have one 10 years younger than you. So
Yeah.
you're going to be shoes going to be on the other foot, bud.
And honestly, Kelly's a young soul. I mean, he's up with he's got young kids and he knows what they're up to. So that'll be
Those
fun.
poor kids.
Well, that'll be a change of what you've had.
So we do have an update.
Yeah, I mean, we
Okay,
started the
that's good.
update with baseball. We got Preds are in Pittsburgh tonight, 6:00 puck drop.
Let me tell you something. If they were to win tonight, who knows? St. Louis Saturday be a big game.
Don't
Big
forget
game.
that I said that back, Billy. Don't let him forget that I predicted this, and he laughed at me.
I did. A lot of
You
people
laughed at
did.
me.
A lot of
You
people
told me
did.
I was crazy. You said, well, no, not crazy. I wouldn't say crazy to your face. That's what you said.
Right,
Exactly
and-
what you said.
And then I said, that's really not why you're crazy.
Talking
In
about
other news-
taking subtle shots. He takes
Moving
subtle
right
shots all
along.
the time.
This just in,
What's just in?
Brandon Miller has declared for the NBA draft.
Oh,
Gee,
no.
there's a
You're kidding
shocker.
me.
Yeah, how about that?
Wow.
Big piece
In
of
a
news.
related breaking piece of news, he used to play for Alabama.
Well, another piece
But-
of news. He is
But thank you to David for giving us that info, although it's not a big surprise.
no, but I think something to monitor is his injury right now. He played very poorly in the NCAA tournament. And,
What's his injury? Is it a knee? What is it?
I think it was lower body. I'm not positive. It was kind of unclear.
You're into the lower body stuff now.
He's into the hockey.
He's into the hockey deals, the lower body, the upper body.
But yeah, I think that's something to monitor with him too. Does that affect his draft stock at all?
No.
How he performed in the NCAA
Not
tournament?
by the time of the draft. He'll be well by then. He'll be in these dang camps, and he's a good player. I
very
really
good
think that
player.
the stuff he went through bothered him. I'm not sure they're not kind of using the injury, but I saw a different look in his face, guys.
Well, it had
Down
to
the
wear.
stretch, I just didn't see
Yeah.
that cocky, competitive look in his eyes like I saw before all that went down.
You didn't see the attack mode, the aggressiveness.
Did not. They used the injury as that, but I just didn't see it in his eyes either, not just his lower body, as we say.
Speaking of attack mode, boy, Caitlin Clark has been in attack mode. She'll be facing off against South Carolina tomorrow night, and she was just named AP Women's Player of the Year. So
Yeah.
I think that broke across the
That
ticker this
probably
morning.
won it for her, that last game.
Oh my God.
41
You
points.
talk about a stat stuffer.
And I thought, other than Final Fours, it's the most watched women's basketball game
Yes.
ever.
Yeah,
Other
and,
than a couple of Final Fours.
and this might be a
championship
stupid
games around.
question, but maybe not. Is there more interest in the women's Final Four this year?
They're saying ratings could be very close
Yeah.
for the first time ever,
I
just
mean,
because
that's insane.
the men's game just doesn't have the marquee names. They don't have them.
Well, and
It's
the
gonna
other
hurt 'em.
thing is nobody knows where the hell to find the NCAA tournament.
No.
I mean, is it on True? Is it on TBS?
Well,
Is
you
Yeah,
it
get to
on-
the Final Four, it's on CBS.
Yeah, but I mean, in the early rounds, that has not been a great move. I understand why they did it, because nobody could afford the rights fee by themselves, but that has not helped them.
I agree with you,
It's just
George.
an
I haven't.
opinion.
I agree with that.
Well, George, we've also that's pretty much it for the update. There wasn't a whole lot of beef in today's update, but
Well, who,
Unless-
determines that? You
mean,
do?
I determine it. Yes.
David, did you think there was a lot of meat in the update?
I gave him a piece of information. He just kind
Oh.
of swept it under the rug.
Well,
which-
tell
You
us
showed
about it
me.
then.
Well, it was
You
the Brandon
showed me
Miller.
your
Go right
phone
ahead.
10 feet away from me. I'm like, I can't see that.
I was more like turn my mic on so I can pass along the news.
All right, what do you got, David?
I already gave it to you, and you used it for yourself.
Ooh, George, you're going to have to control your folks now.
We got some heat. We got some
Seems
tension.
to me we
We got a little tension in the room.
As,
David's calling Billy out a little bit.
don't we?
as George knows, Billy has been on one this afternoon.
Yes, he has.
So
I've been on one.
Yeah, we're gonna get that under control.
there we go.
Okay, so let me tell everybody what we've got going on. An interesting behind the scenes look at FAU from a family member of mine who went to Florida Atlantic. Not only that, but practiced with the basketball team. You're going to enjoy this. That's coming up after the break. Terry McCormick will be with us during the 3:00 hour, and we will ask the question, is this rebuild, or whatever you want to call it with the Titans, harder than Rand Carthon imagined when he took the job? Plenty coming. But first, let's talk about those 45 million people out there who are going to wager come Saturday night on the Final Four. Well, if they're going to do that, the way we want them to do it is through Action 24/7. It's simple. You use the promo code George, and you get a 300% deposit match up to $20 on your first deposit. Action 24/7 is Tennessee's only locally owned and operated sports book. I say that on every commercial we do because these are local folks who want local business. So if you have questions, disputes, whatever, they're going to get back to you. They're going to treat you like a neighbor because that's what they are. They're located right here in our state. Download the app or visit action247.com to start the winning, and please bet responsibly.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685. I know it's getting colder. You're not thinking about golf. However, if you're planning an event for next year, let me suggest golf through Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. It's perfect for hosting a corporate or a charitable outing. They've got everything in place to make your event a rousing success. To get more info, call 615-847-5074 or go online to riversidegolflinks.com.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd, the goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Experience Predators hockey all season long. Visit NashvillePredators.com/season tickets and join the Loyal Legion today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets, and we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
Hey, Billy, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to a family reunion and discovered anybody that you didn't know was a relative?
Every time.
Okay, well, that happened to me last September. My Uncle George, my dad's brother, celebrated his 90th birthday with a huge weekend over in Little Rock. Anyway, met a cousin of mine that just graduated at that point from FAU, and then discovered that he worked out with the basketball team and practiced with them some. His name is Matthew Kerr, and here is the interview that we did about an hour ago. Matthew, first of all, as I introed you earlier, people know that you're a graduate of FAU and obviously very proud of what your basketball team has accomplished. You know a lot behind the scenes about this group. To what level did you think they could accomplish?
Well, I mean, we've always had a lot of talented players. When I first got there as a freshman, we had a guy named Ron Delph who played overseas for a while, and 6'11", could do everything, could handle the ball, could shoot. But we've always had talented players. I think we just needed a coach to come in there and kind of as a catalyst, make things happen, put everything together. They're always putting in the work. I mean, I'm pretty close with Nick Boyd. He and I worked out all summer, my senior year, and pretty much going into that year, he worked out almost every day. And they've got guys that are really, they're young, but they're mature. They know that it's work. They got to come in and get it done. So, I think Dusty has done a great job kind of making all that stuff happen and putting everything together.
Yeah, so you've seen a lot of this behind the scenes. Kind of tell people how you got involved with this basketball team in recent years.
Yeah, so basically I was I played a little bit of football in high school, and I got to college and I was like, man, I'm kind of getting out of shape here. I need to do something about this. So I knew kind of through some people, I knew one of the coaches on the men's team, and I was like, hey, can I come in, be a manager or do something? I just want to get back in shape. And he was like, what you really should do, if you really want to be in shape, go be a practice player for the women's team. And I'm like, you want me to play women's basketball? And what I didn't know is that I think Pat Summitt, the coach at Tennessee, I believe, started all this back in the 80s or 90s, where
she sure did.
She would have guys every day that would come in and play against the girls. And I got to meet a lot of the men's players through that. And I've watched a bunch of practices, played with a lot of them. And that gave me a pretty good insight to kind of how Dusty does things, at FAU. But that's pretty much how I got started in it. I was a practice player for, my entire FAU career, really. And it was kind of the best of both worlds, because, I could go and hang out with my fraternity brothers on the weekends, but, I was staying in shape during the week. So,
yeah, we're not going there.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Dusty May for just a second. The rumor was out in late January and early February that he was headed to Ole Miss. I don't pretend to say I knew a lot about him until I started to hear his name more and more. And Matthew, the thing that has really struck me is this guy has a positivity about him that's got to be contagious.
Oh yeah, certainly. He's the type of guy where when you talk with him, you want to go play for him. And I guess I could say that one of the best things that the program has, that the men's program has, is just their ability to communicate. If you watch a practice and or go to a game, obviously, but I feel like in practice it's a little bit more pronounced. Their communication, I mean, they're always talking. And a lot of coaches, they insist, hey, you guys got to talk, you got to call out the screens, you got to call out when people are cutting, all that type of stuff. But in terms of them being able to communicate well with each other, I think that they get that from him, because I think really every team kind of follows their coach. Their coach is like a part of them, and they take little things from him and pick it up, and that's one thing that I think they definitely do well. The little things I think he really harps on with them. But yeah, I mean, in terms of just wanting to be out there, and the other thing I'll say is, obviously Coach May, but the assistant coaches are out there like practicing with the players. like, a lot of coaches, they're just on the sideline, giving orders, but Coach May and his staff, they'll get out there and actually play with these guys, like, full contact. I mean, obviously they're playing, half court, but they'll be out there, closing out, and they're talking, and they're, kind of cutting in here and there and saying, hey, like, if it were me, I would, do this in this situation, and they'll kind of, stop the drill and stuff like that. But yeah, they'll be out there, which, I mean, I don't know how much, I know George has played a lot of basketball in his day, but, if you're out there with Division I guys, you're taking a chance there if you're, you get to that certain age. But I mean, the coaches are, I mean, almost as good a shape as the players are, which, I mean, as a player, it's kind of like, hey, these guys are out here, with me, and they're as in good a shape as we are, and they're not even playing.
Well, for the record, I've passed that age. So we're past all that Green Hills Y 4-on-4 run and shoot.
Yeah.
Matthew, for those who don't know it, you're in Tampa as we do this interview. FAU, I'm right, Boca Raton?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So tell me what this has been like on that campus community for the last couple of weeks as they just keep getting it done and keep getting it done.
So, I mean, obviously I've been in Tampa since September, and, I've only been back to Boca once since then. And I think that was sometime in late November. But, in terms of what I've heard from a lot of my friends and fraternity brothers there, it's unbelievable, because we've, I don't even think we've made it to I think we've made it to one tournament in the early 2000s. And, kind of how the school, from what I've heard, from my friends and my fraternity brothers, like I said, they've really rallied around that program, and they're everyone's super excited and hyped to see them in the tournament, let alone in the Final Four, which I don't think anybody expected.
Well, one of the tip-offs early, Lenardi kept listing them as a 9 seed.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously he watches more than I do, although I had seen you all play a couple of times. But first of all, for people who don't know, you're going to Houston, correct?
Yes, sir. My flight is tomorrow at 9:15 after I get off work. So,
and if anybody wants to know, you're mooching off the family.
Yeah. Well, I'm staying with my aunt, but the tickets are all paid for by me.
Yeah. Let's go back through the tournament piece of this for a minute. So they end up on a Friday night beating an old school of mine. When I was there, it was Memphis State, but University of Memphis, in a tough, tight battle that, to be honest, could have gone either way. But Matthew, it seemed like the ability to pull that out has helped give them a spirit that they never feel like they're out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think that's kind of part of, what Dusty has instilled, both like philosophically, but also, just kind of the scheme that they run. If you go to FAU's, it's called the Borough. If you go into the practice courts that we have upstairs, there's actual percentages of, I guess it's the average percentage of a 3-pointer on the wing, or, a free throw or a layup or a mid-range shot. If you watch them play, they won't take mid-range shots. You'll very rarely see them take that. They want layups and threes. And, most of the guys, if not all, have the ability to shoot the three. And, they play fast. I mean, as you know, from watching them, for them, they want to get the ball down the floor. And if they get an open shot, pretty much all those guys have a green light to shoot it. And they put in the work to be able to do that, to be in shape and, be able to shoot the ball, because it's not easy to shoot the ball from that distance. It doesn't look that far when you're watching it on TV, and then you get out there and you're like, oh, this is a long way to shoot a basketball. So
game number 2 was Fairleigh Dickinson, who became sort of the darling of the tournament when they pulled the upset of Purdue in the opening round. But this was the one time where FAU was sort of the Goliath as opposed to the other way around. And I was impressed. They just took care of business.
Yeah. Yeah. They came out, and I was honestly, I kind of was thinking, okay, well, I hope that nobody's underestimating them, from our side. Because I'd watched them play, in their previous game, and I was pretty impressed. I figured they would give us some problems, but like you said, they came out and took care of business. With the Memphis State stuff, I was like, okay, if we can just be within 10, as long as they're within like 10 or 15 points, they're never out of the game because they'll just go on a run and get right back into it. So I know that in watching the Tennessee game, same thing. I'm like, okay, if we can just get to the half and be down maybe 5. Dusty's going to give them a nice pep talk, and they're going to be great when they come out. So, yeah, I was definitely, I would say, out of all the games that we had, the Fairleigh Dickinson game definitely gave me the worries for sure.
Tennessee was an interesting deal. We had seen Tennessee a lot, obviously, in this area, and there were certain nights where Tennessee, if they shot, were exceptionally good, but then they would go through these droughts in the half court, and it looked like FAU really had them well scouted.
Yeah, so that's another thing I guess we could touch on. The way they put the scouting reports together is pretty interesting. I mean, so one of the things that both programs at FAU do, both women's and men's, you'll have a player, so for the men's team, it would be the coaches that would actually kind of simulate. And I don't know how common this is, in college basketball. I'm sure it's probably pretty common practice, but they'll have, someone that will simulate their person, and kind of their tendencies. And they watch enough film prior, usually right before practice in the arena, they'll pull up on the, I guess you could call it a Jumbotron, film. Okay, this guy's going to do this. This guy likes to drive right and cross back over the left, stuff like that. So I think that's one thing that Dusty really does well, and the whole staff does well. I can't remember the video coordinator's name, but they put together stuff so it's easy for the players to digest and understand. And then once they get out on the floor, they just have to take care of business, and they know what's coming,
So for the record, I warned Matthew ahead of time to take binoculars to Houston. Depending on where you are, they might come in really handy. I've seen San Diego State 5 or 6 times this year. I know the book on them. They flat out get after you on defense. But like Tennessee, they go through these droughts at times, and that's what y'all are hoping for, is that they have one of those droughts at the wrong time. So give me a thought or two. This is a stage that an FAU has never experienced. You think nerves are a problem early?
Yeah, I mean, I would be lying. I wouldn't be surprised if both teams came out and didn't shoot the ball very well. But I think that the coaching staff will do a good job kind of calming them down and understanding, kind of the stage that they're in. But I think originally, initially in the game, it'll probably be an issue. Speaking truthfully.
Yeah, well, and rightfully so if it is.
Yeah.
So think through this with me.
Mm-hmm.
George Mason, 2006 under Larinaga, made this kind of amazing, Cinderella ride.
Right.
Butler got all the way to the finals, and Gordon Hayward missed a 40-footer, or they might have been the national champion against Duke. VCU went from the first 4 in Dayton under Shaka Smart all the way. But nobody has been able to close the deal. Yeah. In your craziest dreams, if FAU closes the deal, what do you think it'll be like?
Oh gosh, I can't even imagine. I know that the campus will be going crazy for sure, without question. But if they do that, I mean, I don't even know what I'll probably do. I'll probably take a trip down to Boca, and celebrate a little bit. I don't really have time with work, but I can probably make it happen. But I honestly, I can't even imagine what it'd probably be like. They'd be, I remember for the Super Bowl here when the Bucks won, people were like ripping street signs out of the ground and stuff. wouldn't be surprised if something similar, happens there and the campus is in an uproar for a while.
Okay, so we'll leave it this way. This is in lieu of putting a phone call in. I'm sending this tape to Uncle George in Little Rock. You got anything you want to say to him?
Oh, Papul, I miss you. Looking forward to coming to Arkansas pretty soon. I hope you enjoy watching the games, and I'll be in touch. I'm happy to hear your thoughts about the game and talk about it with you. Ben will be there too, so we'll be sure to get in a little conference call before before anything happens.
Our Uncle George is 90, and let me just put it this way: we will all wish to be in the kind of shape he's in if and when we ever get to 90. Matthew, thank you so much for the visit. And who knows, maybe we do this again next week.
Yes, sir. I'm hoping for it. I appreciate you having me on, George.
Matthew Kerr joining us to talk a little FAU basketball and the trip to the Final Four. And stay tuned. We'll have more of the show when we come back.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Jody Jones has as nice a dental facility as you'll find anywhere. Let's go in and take a look. Are you in the market for a new dentist? Maybe you're new to Nashville? Well, the place to go is Jody Jones Dentistry at 55 Music Square East, and their new facility is absolutely state-of-the-art. Jody mixes quality with comfort for the perfect dental experience. He's trusted for his creative design and committed to both the function and aesthetics of your smile. Jody is simply the total package. Don't wait. Make an appointment now at 615-259-5100. Well, it's now been, 72 hours since our world in Nashville, Tennessee was rocked with what went on over at Covenant School. And I want to bring this story up. I just happened to catch this story earlier today. And I don't know this guy, even though I've got a little bit of a past history at Georgia Tech. I have never met their new coach, Brent Key, but I know now that I've become a big fan really quick. Speaking with the media on Wednesday, he choked up, reflecting on how his mother was a third grade teacher and how his 4-year-old daughter, Harper, was at a school play at the time of the shooting. He said, "It's the most heartbreaking thing in the world to think about your daughter going to school," he said, while holding back tears. "She's supposed to be safe and protected. It's," and I can't say what he said, "it's, man, it is." Key insisted that he didn't want to make a political or religious statement, but that he hopes his words inspire some sort of change. And I think that any of us who live in this city who care want some change. Watson, I don't know this guy. I've never met him that I'm aware of, but I have instantly become a fan.
Oh, and George, something's got to give. There's a lot of things that could help all of this, but it's just become the norm instead of the exception with all this stuff. And I just think there's a bunch of copycats out there. I do. I think that's what this is all about. I think in these people that have issues, minds, that they get to go out a well thought of, famous person.
Remembered,
whatever you want to call it. And I don't know, there's one thing's not going to fix this. But sooner or later, they've got to get together and find out about 25 things that they could put together to see if we can't stop this stuff. I can take it for everywhere, but when you go into schools and kill young people like that, I don't get it. I just don't understand it. We'll get to the bottom of this one more. But we talk too much about the villain and not near enough about the heroes, and you just did that. And those two policemen that went in there.
God.
George.
No kidding.
They're being shot at going in the door. And then they get in there, and every time they turn a corner, they don't know what's there. They'll hop out and be ready to shoot. I mean, it's unbelievable. And from the start of it till to putting the person down, 14 minutes. I'm telling you, I just don't think I don't think there's a police department or 3 or 4 policemen. I think these were all men. That this has been the best it's ever been handled. And what did I read? 300 and something of these now? Pitiful. 300 and something of these different things. It's sad. But I just wish we could talk about the people that did the good things with this and leave the other person out of it. But we're going to spend a lot of time studying her, and that's just the way it works. And, my wife Brenda's best friend in Alabama, the substitute teacher was from Alabama. They had just come from Alabama.
Right.
Brenda's best friend in Alabama was good friends with this lady, and says she's an unbelievable person. And all she's doing is filling in for somebody at a school. That's all she was doing. And now we've lost her. So it's tough. I saw where the governor and his wife was real close with the headmaster, I guess, at the school that got killed. And our governor, Governor Lee, his wife was real close to her. It touches so many people.
Oh, it's amazing how many.
So many people. And I just wish we'd talk about the good ones and leave the villains out of it.
Well, I'm going to say this again, and I'm not trying to turn this show into something that it's not, but this is an issue that's important in the city I grew up in and love. And so we're going to talk about it a little bit. And we have talked about it a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm going to say what I said a couple of days ago. Our police were incredible.
Incredible.
Starting with Don Aaron, who is the public information director. And Don and I go back to, we worked together coming straight out of college. This was the kind of job Don always dreamed of. And he delivers, concise, as much information as he humanly can in very sensitive settings. And then you've got those officers, Watson, as you brought up, those people went in there not knowing what the hell they were going to have to deal with. And you talk about a level of bravery. That's bravery.
And when you put the badge on, George, that they know they're very possibly going to walk into stuff like that. And
yeah,
I can't thank them enough. And I know we have guys that make mistakes and all of that, but overall, the police, what in the world would we do without them? And look at this situation. What would we have done without them in this situation, George? How many other young people would have been killed?
Well, I mean, I think, yeah, we know that the tragedy is that there are 6 who aren't coming back, and we're never going to get them back.
Right.
And that is a tragedy, and our hearts should all go out to those family and friends of those 6. But I know in my heart that if those police had not done what they did, this would have been an absolute massacre.
Massacre. There's no telling how many. Because she was on the warpath now. There's no doubt.
I heard she was, I don't know how true this is, but I heard she was headed to the Green Hills Mall. After that.
I thought it was Opry Mills.
I think it was Green Hills.
Was it Green Hills?
Because she was in Green Hills.
Yeah.
And supposedly she didn't go because too much security. And so here's where she turns. And it's just sad.
I drove by there yesterday on my way, not because I wanted to go by and see it necessarily, but you know, you see all the television equipment, and let's face it, this has been national stuff. It does seem, and I don't pretend to know why, but this particular deal seems to have caught more national attention than most of them do. Would you buy that?
I think it gets worse every time one of these happens, George. See, sometimes I think we take it too far. And I don't even want to go there because it's not political, but I just wonder that if we dramatize it to the point, and then you turn around and say, you've got to say things about these young people that passed away. I mean, that's lives that are gone, and we want to praise those people and make everybody aware. But yet we just go so far with this. I mean, here, there, like you said, I promise you, every national media news organization is still right in the middle of this every day.
Yeah.
Every day, and probably till this manifest comes out, and they're all waiting to see if they can find out more about the shooter. And I think that'll lead to some more stories when it's over. But let's just don't forget the folks that passed away, and let's don't forget the ones that saved another 30's life.
Oh, man.
That's what I'd rather talk about than the person that did this.
So I'll say this again. If you see a policeman in the next couple of weeks, stop and say thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
Because they represent a group. Man, these people, there's a rotten one every once in a while, and we all know that. And it's unfortunate. But there's a good chunk of them that are incredible human beings.
There's a chunk of them in Nashville.
Yeah, there are. So I got one for you. We'll go off of that. You ever been to a Final Four?
Yeah, half of one. I told you the story.
Well, keep going with it.
Well, Brenda and I went to Seattle and left after the first night of games and came home so I could go through spring practice. To say the least, she's given me grief about that now for 30 years.
Yeah.
She had every right to. I could have backed off practice a day, but, you don't know any better in those days. I'm an idiot. But, yeah, I've been to half of one.
Half of one.
Half of one.
So I've been to regional finals. I was trying to count up how many, and the number's either 3 or 4 regional finals that I've been to. And I think the most recent one that I've been to was Rupp Arena when Kentucky hosted, and it was Kent State and Mike Davis's Indiana. Indiana won the game. Mike Davis played for CM Newton at Alabama, and Coach Newton had us right on the front row, and Davis came over to where we were when it was over. And boy, those two had an emotional moment together. I've seen Providence with Austin Crozier, and here's a name, God Shamgod.
What?
Yes, Providence played in a regional final in Birmingham, and I don't remember who it was they played. That's pitiful. I've seen man, I'm drawing a blank all of a sudden. I've seen Allen Iverson's Georgetown play John Calipari's Marcus Camby's UMass team, which eventually made the Final Four and had the banner taken down for a reason.
I wasn't the AD anymore, but I was on a group of 3 men that went and interviewed Mike Davis. And, Mike ended up becoming the UAB basketball coach for a while. So Mike's a good guy. He's a good guy.
He faced the most impossible situation, replacing Bobby Knight.
Yeah.
When Knight got booted.
Well, and then Coach Knight got after him too.
Oh, he certainly did.
That wasn't
not pretty.
That wasn't a good deal.
That was not pretty. So what were you going to say, Billy?
I was going to say I've been to one regional final. It was Florida and Dayton. I forget what year it was, but it was that really good Florida team that ended up losing in the Final Four. But there was that Dayton team that made a run. I think they were an 11 seed.
It in Memphis?
It was in Memphis. Yep.
I had been to the Thursday night session.
Yeah.
Where Stanford was in there.
Yep. You had
Florida, UCLA,
Syracuse, I think, and Gonzaga was in there as well. Because that's why I ended up going. I had a couple buddies that were a Syracuse and Gonzaga fan, and they scheduled the trip, and Syracuse and Gonzaga didn't end up meeting in that regional final. So we ended up watching Florida and Dayton. But it's cool. Regional finals, it's a cool deal.
Memphis has had 2 of those.
Yes.
And you say, why hasn't Nashville? Mostly because we've made the decision from an economic standpoint that the SEC tournament and now what is a 5-day deal brings in a whole lot more money. And that's sort of the reason why that's happened.
And the success of Kentucky.
Yeah.
It was funny the amount of Kentucky fans that stayed in Nashville.
Blue missed money.
Even after they lost.
Yeah. Okay, so we're done with that. We'll come back after the break, and we'll do stat of the day, which I'm sure none of you think Watson and I can get, but we're going to get it. Right, Watson?
It's baseball. So
we're going to get it.
It's got to be old players for me.
Wow. And then Terry McCormick's going to join us. And we'll get into where the Titans are, 4 weeks before the draft in Kansas City. Stick around. We got plenty more coming.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? How?
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
This is my buddy and former Nashville Sounds PA announcer Eric Berner. I always laughed in the old days at Greer Stadium when I would walk in, Eric would immediately play my favorite song, Van Halen's Jump. But then I learned he actually has a real job with Rock Castle Wealth Advisors.
Yeah, George, that's what I do. I help people in the pursuit of making their money live as long as they do. Everybody's situation is different, so I use a customized and individualized, personalized approach to the person I'm working with. Old 401ks, retirement planning, insurance planning, inheritance planning. Those are things that people like to get some more information about.
One of the things I find is people don't even know where to start, and that's where you come in.
Yeah, so I can usually help people with an initial phone call or meeting that is a no charge and no obligation.
And I'll bet you have a phone number and a website.
I do, George. They can call me at 615-235-1058 or rockcastlewealth.com or eric@rockcastlewealth.com.
Welcome to John English Antique Sports and Cards, located at 204 East Depot Street in beautiful downtown Shelbyville, Tennessee. Their phone number is area code 931-492-4304. John, obviously, I've been blown away by what I've seen at your place. I've now been there 3 times. But for the person who's never been, what should they expect?
Well, we have a 3,000 square foot store, George. Half of it is vintage cards in all sports, and then half of the store is, a lot of people call it the museum, where there's a lot of early equipment and just the history of sports in general: baseball, football, basketball, golf, tennis, and other items.
When somebody comes in there that you know is a big sports fan, what is their normal reaction?
Well, I think that they're pleasantly surprised, and of course, being in Shelbyville, Tennessee, which is a small town that you would never expect a shop like we have to be in. So they're kind of, I don't want to say blown away, but as I said, pleasantly surprised.
Welcome back in. Final segment of this first hour on a Thursday. We got Stat of the Day brought to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards. You can find them out in Shelbyville at 204 East Depot Street, Tuesday through Friday from noon to 5. Also Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5. Give them a call as well at 931-492-4304. All right, let's check out today's Stat of the Day in honor of opening day across the baseball world. We've got a pretty good question here. Today's opening day, of course. The longest winning streak to start an MLB season is 13 games. 2 teams have accomplished this feat in MLB history. Can you name them?
Well, first of all, the 82 Braves are one of them. They started 13-0, and in the 13th game, Claudell Washington hit a 2-out hit in the bottom of the 9th inning to get them a come-from-behind victory at home against Cincinnati. Watson, I don't know. I know without any shadow of a doubt the Braves are one of them in 82. I don't know who the other one is. Do you?
Nope. Nope. I have no idea.
When Terry gets in here,
Terry might know that.
Yeah, we might toss this little hand grenade at him. By the way, am I right about the Braves? Of course I am. Thank you.
Correct. There you go.
Yes. There are a lot of things I remember about that. It was.
Who's been hot starters lately?
Unironically, not the Braves.
The Rays. The Rays have started hot a few times.
I'll give you 2 hints, George, okay?
I don't think it's anything recent.
Billy and I were not alive yet.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think so.
Okay. And then the team is in the National League. That they didn't make the playoffs, too. Started 13-0 and missed the playoffs.
When? What year?
Do you feel like that's giving it away?
No, not if we know the year.
1987.
87. Wow. Okay, I see Terry McCormick up there. By the way, he's a happy camper. his Yankees are well on the way to an opening day win, and Aaron Judge hit a bomb in his first at bat of 2023, dead center. It was a bomb. Terry, do you know the answer?
What's the question, George?
You want to read it to him, Billy?
The longest winning streak to start an MLB season is 13 games. Only 2 teams have accomplished that feat in MLB history. Can you name them?
And of course, the 82 Braves are one of them.
Yeah, that one of your Braves teams was one of them. I knew that. I couldn't remember if it was 82.
The other was in 87, and it's a National League team. Cardinals got to the World Series. And
they were an American League team at the time. It was the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah, National League team today, American League team back then. That is my fault.
It was the Brewers.
Good job,
Terry. Quick with the answer.
That was the Robin Yount, Paul Molitor,
Cecil Cooper, Gorman Thomas, probably.
Yeah, I don't know how many of them were still there. Vukovic may not have been on that roster. I think Molitor was, though, wasn't he?
Probably so. Maybe Jim Gantner was on that team. Ben Oglivie.
Yeah. Harvey's Wallbangers.
Yes.
Although I say that, he may well have been gone by then.
I think he probably was.
One of the better throwback uniforms, by the way, those old Brewers.
Yeah.
With the blue, kind of the blue over the belt.
So we've asked Terry to join us, and it certainly was not to talk about either the Yankees or the Brewers, but instead the team he covers for Main Street Media, and he joins us. All three of us have got glasses. That's wonderful. Terry, let's get the Lamar Jackson thing out of the way and explain why it is that he's not going to be a Titan.
They can't afford him, basically. They don't have the cap space, it would appear. They would have to do a lot of maneuvering to do that, probably cutting or trading Ryan Tannehill, and to get the full benefit of what moving on from Tannehill would do financially, they would have to do it post June 1. So they would have to wait until June 1 officially to do that with Lamar Jackson to be able to use that cap space, is the way I understand it. And then if you do that, then he's missed all your OTAs and, maybe some of your mini camp and stuff like that. But to me, you could bring in a dynamic guy like Lamar Jackson, and and maybe that would upgrade the quarterback position, albeit in a very different way than the way Ryan Tannehill plays the game. But wouldn't the same question and the same dilemma that Jackson faces in Baltimore, where it's been said that he needs quality receivers, he needs a better group of receivers to maximize his potential, wouldn't that problem be even more magnified by coming to play with the Titans set of receivers?
Oh, good Lord, yes. I mean, Watson, feel free to jump in here on this particular subject, because if I've read you right, you're not totally convinced yet that it's Tannehill till death do them part.
Not totally convinced. I just throw him in with a mix of a lot of guys. I just don't see how they can do much more if something big doesn't happen. They just don't have much more money. And if they're going to go after anybody else that's really going to change this team, they haven't spent a lot of money just yet. They really haven't. But they just don't have the money to spend unless there's some trade involved or a guy that's gone like Tannehill that opens up a lot of space. I think Tannehill's the last of the ones I think right now, the longer it goes. But I do think that there's a chance to restructure him, but it's not going to happen for a while, right, Terry? We're going to sit and wait on that for quite a while before that goes down, before June.
Well, I mean, it's possible. It's possible that they could offer him maybe a 1-year extension and say, okay, let's cut this cap figure way down for 2023. And then in 2024, when they have a lot of cap space right now. I think it's well over 100 million they're projected to have right now in 2024 as they can get out from under some of these big contracts that they have. I think that then maybe you would entertain moving on from Ryan Tannehill when you can better absorb the cap hit.
But I do think they've got to deal with this quarterback situation. They're going to have to – they got to come up with something as a plan because Ryan Tannehill is not the future. He's not. And they've got to come up with a plan somewhere.
No.
Somehow.
He's
through the market, through a trade, through the free agent market, through a trade, or through the draft. That's the three ways they can do it. And I just think they got to deal with that sooner than later.
Sooner or later. I mean, I think he probably is the present right now in terms, that they're going to probably have to roll with him in 2023. But, if you go back into the draft, and remember, Watson, unless you trade back and start maneuvering and moving around, you only got 6 picks because that pick you used on Julio Jones, in that trade a couple of years ago, now is coming back to bite you because you don't have a 4th rounder. So only have 6 picks right now, and they have so many more holes than they can fix with those 6 picks that, unless there's somebody there that they just cannot pass up at quarterback, I don't know that they can really spend a high draft pick on a quarterback. And then if you do spend a draft pick on a quarterback, you're sending the message that Malik Willis is not your guy. And so there's another high pick wasted from a previous draft.
But that would possibly open up a trade for Malik Willis, who's a 3rd-round pick. And so they might get a decent trade out of that. That could happen.
I don't know how much he'd be worth right now. You'd get pennies on the dollar for a 3rd-round pick who didn't show much as a rookie. Yes, he's got potential, but you're probably not going to get anything. You'd be lucky to get a 5th-round pick back in return, in my opinion.
So, Terry, let me go back on Watson's theory that they are strapped to the point that if they truly have any hopes of this being better quick, that there's going to have to be some bombshell. Do you buy that?
I guess it all depends on what they want to do for 2023. If they feel like that this is a complete rebuild, or if they feel like that this is a last shot to try and get this thing back together. In my opinion, I think they're kind of caught in between. They're not good enough to overtake the Chiefs and the Bengals and the Bills in the AFC, and they're not bad enough to be down there with the dregs like, Houston and Indianapolis and, whoever else you might want to throw in there that's at the bottom of the pack. So they're kind of caught in a rough situation where they're really in between a rebuild and trying to reload. And that's a bad way to have to do business.
Although, Watson, by the end of the season, weren't they kind of in that?
Yeah, they lost
thing?
7 straight?
Yeah, they weren't exactly the 27 Yankees.
They sure weren't up toward the top. But before all that went down, they were up toward the top.
Right. They were 7-3, got a bunch of people hurt, and then had an XFL roster.
Yeah, but I still say, where are they going to come up with I don't think they got enough right now. They might have enough to hang around in the division, but I'm not even sure about that. But they sure aren't up there with the big boys right now. So what are they going to do? Are you going to leave it as is, sign another couple for a small amount of money, and wait till next year? Or are you going to try to go for it? I don't see any way to go for it in trade or free agency without a big name going somewhere. I just don't see any way you can do it. So I'm just sitting back and watching. And if they do nothing else and sign a few little pieces here and there, I think they're basically saying this is all we can do for this year. We don't have anything else to do, and hope to hit it big in the draft. I think
you're probably right, Watson. Because look at it this way too. Even if they did make a big splash, let's say that they decided to go all in and say they're going to bring Lamar Jackson here to Nashville. One, I don't know that Lamar Jackson himself, I mean, he would make you markedly better and more athletic, but without any receivers, with a questionable offensive line, with his recent injury history, I don't know that Lamar Jackson by himself would necessarily make you an instant contender with the Titans. The other thing is this: if you go and you make the big splash for Lamar Jackson, remember, he's on the franchise tag. You're giving up 2 first-round picks. So you're further crippling the rebuilding process with the 2 first-round picks that you won't have.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be Lamar Jackson. I'm talking if they're wanting to bring in a big receiver in a trade or something, they're going to have to give up a Kevin Barrett or somebody to do that. You can't just, DeAndre Hopkins, you can't go get him right now. It costs you too much money. If you want him, you're going to have to give up something in a trade to get him. Most of these guys that are left are not free agents that are the big names now, Terry. It's more the trade people. It's trading for something. And Terry, they've caught a lot of grief over the Dillard signing. I've read a lot of articles that had it's the worst get in so far in the off season was the Titans taking that as one of the worst decisions made. And I know you've read some of that. So I just don't think much has happened yet, just because they can't. They don't. I'm not getting on anybody at all. They're just stuck, man. And you can't do it without money, and they don't have it right now.
That and signing guys like Dillard and Brunskill and Al-Shaair, all these guys that have somewhat of a track record of modest success. You're hoping that by giving them a better opportunity, that somehow they're going to pan out and they're going to blossom and they're going to take that and run with it. Sort of, if you want to go back into the past, kind of hitting on something like that, maybe a little like a Kyle Vanden Bosch did here years ago, where he'd had some injury problems and hadn't really panned out in Arizona, which drafted him, but he came here, became a dynamic pass rusher and a Pro Bowl type player. But when you have to go that route to kind of gamble on the low risk, high reward guys, it's not every time that those guys pan out, but they're going to have to hope that Dillard and some of these other guys can do that. Evidently, they didn't feel like there was a guy like that on the receiver market because they haven't signed anybody. So they're going to probably have to address that in the draft because the collection of receivers they have right now is awful. It's about all you can say for it. There's not one proven commodity there that you can say is a playmaker. So, and the bad thing about that is that this year's wide receiver class kind of falls short compared to some of the ones in the past where teams were pulling out Justin Jefferson and A.J. Brown, Jamar Chase, guys who are now among the top handful of receivers in the league. There are not many of those guys in this year's draft, or at least that's what the prognosticators are saying.
Terry, it seems there's a couple of things here. Number one, anybody who believes otherwise is crazy on this. If you miss the way they missed on a pair of first-round draft picks, if you miss and get nothing, you're screwed. True?
True, very true. Comes home to roost. I mean, you may dodge it for a couple of years like they did in 2020 and 2021 when they were still playing with a core of a team that was built from 2016 through 2019. But now, that bill has come due, and it's come due in a big way because this team is barren, not only at wide receiver, but they're still pretty barren on the offensive line. They still have issues at cornerback. They still have issues at depth at safety. They don't really have a backup quarterback. In fact, there's still not a concrete plan at the starting quarterback position. If you believe what some people are saying, that they're still would like to move on from Ryan Tannehill. He's right now, he's by far the best option that they have. But if he doesn't have any weapons to throw to and have anybody to protect him, well, we saw that on display last year.
Okay, now this is nothing but speculation. But here's Rand Carthon, who, until it gets serious in the interview process here, his focus is on the San Francisco 49ers, who are in a long playoff run that ultimately ends in Philadelphia. Do you believe he truly understood the level of how crappy a position he was going to have to walk into?
Probably, but in terms of what the Titans situation, guys talk, personnel people, GMs, coaches, they talk. They know whose roster's set. They know whose roster is in upheaval. They know, which teams are run correctly, which ones are not. I think the thing that, was probably on Rand Carthon's mind, and I really can't speak for him because I still don't really know him that well. I think, that this opportunity came along to be a general manager in the National Football League. There are only 32 of those jobs. So I don't care if you're taking over a team that went 0-17, you're going to take on that challenge because those opportunities don't come around very often. And a lot of times, while head coaches are recycled all the time, for some reason, very few general managers get recycled. Remember, with Floyd Reese, as good a job as he did in building the Titans back in the late 90s, early 2000s, he never got another opportunity to be a general manager again after he left here.
Terry, I want you to hang with us, and then I want to go down the road with you and Watson of something you brought up months ago, but I don't hear a lot about, and I think we're missing the boat on a piece of all this, okay?
All right.
As we go to the break, let's talk about that number again. 45 million of you are going to bet this weekend on the Final Four. That is a staggering number, 45 million. And so the commercial involves the folks at Action 24/7. Use the promo code George. Yeah, I got my own promo code. Get a 300% deposit match up to $20 on your first deposit. Action 24/7 is Tennessee's only locally owned and operated sports book. That's right. If you got questions, the good folks who try to help you are your neighbors located right here in Tennessee. And that's one of the big reasons you should consider Action 24/7. Local with local. Download the app or visit action247.com to start all that winning. And please, bet responsibly.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685. I know it's getting colder. You're not thinking about golf. However, if you're planning an event for next year, let me suggest golf through Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. It's perfect for hosting a corporate or a charitable outing. They've got everything in place to make your event a rousing success. To get more info, call 615-847-5074 or go online to riversidegolflinks.com.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd, the goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Experience Predators hockey all season long. Visit NashvillePredators.com/season tickets and join the Loyal Legion today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. And we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
Okay, we're back, and we're going to get down and dirty on exactly where the Titans are. That's Watson Brown.
And we just lost Terry.
Oh, we can't have that. You get him back.
It's the second straight week Terry just goes into the abyss.
You get him back now.
There he is.
There he is.
Terry, I thought we lost you for the second straight week.
Oh, I accidentally hit the wrong button. I was working on a story during the commercial break.
If I had done that, you would never have heard the end of it.
That's true.
I don't think you'd be in the
Look at
position to
Watson
even
going,
do that.
oh, yeah, he's
Yep,
right.
that's true.
You wouldn't
have heard the end of it.
So, Terry, the first time I ever heard the theory that you put out there several months ago was back when the Cleveland Indians moved out of what they called the Mistake by the Lake, that old municipal stadium, that old airplane hangar, that big old thing that seated about 80,000. And then they moved into what was Jacobs Field. And they made a plan that, by golly, we're going to suck in Municipal Stadium, but by the time we get to Jacobs Field, we're going to put an everyday lineup out there that's pretty doggone good. And that's exactly what they did. And you,
Mays Hayes, Pedro Serrano.
Yes.
Willie Mays Hayes was an Indian?
Oh. Terry. Can you believe he said that?
Oh.
But Watson even knows. Have you not seen the movie Major League?
I have, but I'm not sure what the reference
Willie
was.
Mays Hayes was the center fielder, the guy that could really run in the movie.
Oh, my bad.
Watson, I think what we do from here on in is just shut his mic completely.
Except you don't have the power to do that.
Well, I can come over there and get the power if you'd like for me to. So, Terry, you put it out there early that you thought the most reasonable idea was to get this team back on a path that when they get in that new stadium, which now looks like 2027, and Butch Spearden told us this months ago that it was more likely going to be 2027. And so do you think they're thinking that way at all? Do you think that comes up in their strategy stuff?
I think they have to probably, now that it's been pushed back to 27, I think they have to be good maybe a year before that, because you can't go through what they went through, say, from 2010 to 2015 and be miserable for 4 or 5 seasons in a row. You can't do that in today's NFL. That place is going to look like a ghost town, except when the Steelers and the Cowboys and the Bills show up and people are wearing their colors. You've got to get this thing back together now, I would say, even a year or two before you move into that new stadium, now that it's been pushed back to 2027, George.
Do you ever hear it said?
No one over there is going to admit that, I don't think. But you know it's in the back of their mind, and you know they don't want to go in that new stadium coming off of a 5-12 season and picking in the top 5 of the draft. That's just not how you want to operate. The only way that a new team, that a team in a new stadium gets to be bad is if that's an expansion team that's taking the field in a new stadium for the first time. If you're an established team like the Titans are, you've got to have a decent looking roster. You've got to be competitive. Not saying you got to go to the Super Bowl, but you've got to be competitive when you hit the field in that brand new stadium.
Okay. And Watson, feel free to jump in here anytime you want on it.
Well, I will say this, Terry, and see what you think. I think they're up to one of two things. They're going to ride this out, and with $100 million next year, they're going to go for it next year and ride this out, or they're going to end up giving up a really good player to bring in a really good playmakers from somewhere, receiver somehow, or they're going to take a quarterback in this year's draft to fix next for the future. And the reason I say that is I think any GM that walks in the door, he knows the first thing he's got to fix is his quarterback. And I just think that's got to be eating at him. And I think he wants to fix that as quick as he can. So I'm not going to be surprised if they were to trade some good players to bring in a receiver like a Hopkins or something. I wouldn't be surprised if they took a hooker in the draft. I would not be surprised with that. And I also wouldn't be surprised if they fill in with a few more little things here and ride it out. But I think it's one of the two things. They're going to ride it out till next year and go for it with all that money they got, or they're going to try to fix a big piece of it this year, and one of those pieces being a quarterback or one of those pieces being a big-time receiver.
I think it's probably some kind of combination of the two, Watson. I think they are probably ready to load up next year because with all that cap space and all that, they can go out and really upgrade the condition of the roster, not only at the skill positions, but at a number of positions. And then I think the other part of it is they have to, by that point, have answers not only at the quarterback position, but they've also got to have answers with Derrick Henry. They got to say, how much longer are we going to build this team around Derrick Henry and his skill set and what he does? And when they move on from Derrick Henry, whenever that may be, whether that's after 2023, whether it's after 2025, when they move on, that's when they have to have the quarterback that's going to lead this team in place and already up to speed. And they have to have weapons for him and protection for him, because once Derrick Henry is gone, this offense is going to have to be completely revamped to become more modern NFL looking, in my opinion. Do you agree with that?
Yes, 100%. And I think that's what they're waiting on. I don't think Derrick really fits that as much, but I really think they're going to look at Derrick this year. If Derrick falls off a little bit at all or gets injured or whatever, I think that'll be it. They'll move on. I do. If he has a good year, they'll go another one. But right now, I think they're sticking with the plan with Derrick, and they're going to be in the same form of offense. I think it might be a little bit more spread oriented than it's been, and not two tight ends like it's been the last couple of years. But I think they're going to stay with the same style. But I don't. How old is Derrick now?
28, maybe 29.
So he's right there. He is right there. So I think this is a huge year for Derrick. And I think it's going to be they're going to watch him and see how he plays this year. And then that decision will be made because they can make it next year with all that money they've got.
Okay, let me ask this. Let me ask this question. Now, you've got a group of receivers that are essentially Treylon Burks and a bunch of Billy Derricks. Hi, Billy.
I quit football in 6th grade.
I know, and that's basically where they are. It's the worst wide receiver core it looks like in the history of pro football. I mean, it looks like a group that you'd run the wishbone with. You'd never throw to them. So, Terry, you've got a really good tight end. You got virtually nothing at wide receiver. If Rand Carthon set up a meeting with Derrick Henry and said, do you really want to go through this? Do you really think Derrick Henry would say yes?
It's a good question. But I think the other question is, and the bigger one from the Titans standpoint is, even though Derrick Henry is still maybe the top running back in the National Football League, what would he fetch in a trade? Probably not a lot, probably a mid-round pick, because for whatever reason, NFL teams hold draft picks in very high esteem. And, trading a proven, I think it's fine to trade a draft pick for a proven player as long as the proven player has plenty of gas left in the tank. Because, you saw what happened when the Rams traded for Matthew Stafford and unloaded Jared Goff and a boatload of picks. One, it helped rebuild the Lions, but two, it got the Rams a Super Bowl win. Now, they paid for it last year because Stafford was hurt and the team looked awful. But I don't have a problem with trading draft picks for a player when you feel like you're close and one or two pieces away. But the thing is, with Derrick Henry, if you trade him, you're probably not going to get as much as a lot of people think you would in return in terms of draft picks.
Okay, let me ask this question, because this is what general managers get paid to do. General managers, it seems to me, get paid to find the one team out there that could say, we are Derrick Henry away from a Super Bowl. Is there a team out there, in y'all's opinion, that is Derrick Henry away from the Super Bowl?
The team that I hear mentioned in that regard would be the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know that they would be interested in Derrick Henry or not, but that would seem to make a little bit of sense if they were going to try and move him. But I don't think they would get a lot for him. And remember, if you get a pick from the Eagles, it's coming at the back of the draft. You're not getting pick number 5
unless you get AJ Brown back.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you. So, Watson, why would he want to stick this out?
He loves Nashville. He's been very successful. He's highly thought of. They're going to do what he does. What he does best, the Titans do. He's not going to find that at a lot of these other places he goes. I mean, you go to the Buffalo Bills. I've heard their name mentioned, but they don't use the running back anything like the Titans do. All these teams have gone running back by committee, and all of them are capable of getting out and making plays in space. There's not the ones everybody's playing with now aren't Derrick Henry's guys. That's not what they look like. And that's why I think there's not going to be a lot of people that would be interested in him because of their style of play.
Yeah, but remember, it only takes one. Here would be the question.
But you got to change a lot of things to bring him in that you do.
No, I get that, but I'm going to ask this question. If you're Derrick Henry, you've made a lot of money. You're not hurting for money. Is it now I want to win a Super Bowl? Because you sure as hell aren't going to do it with this team. What you're going to do with this team is walk into your home stadium every Sunday and play in front of about 60% visiting fans. That's what this year is going to be. Unless there's some radical something I don't see coming. Doesn't the desire to win a Super Bowl now supersede everything?
I don't know if he feels that way. I mean, I think he's still watching what the Titans do. He's a big believer in Ryan Tannehill. I don't know that I would really like to know if that's the way he feels. And I think Derrick thinks he's got more than a year left. I think he thinks he's got at least 2 good years left. And he knows there's a lot of money coming to the Titans next year. And so he'd sit around and wait a year and see if they can't hit it the next year. But I don't know that he feels like what you're saying, George. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But it's different when you're in that team and you have these feelings that we can win and we can still do this. And he's hearing this from Mike Vrabel all the time. We're close. We just need a couple of more things. I don't know that he feels that way, guys.
Let me throw another team out there to you. Now, they're not necessarily a contender, but Derrick Henry might make them a contender. What about the Atlanta Falcons? Because Arthur Smith knows him better than anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know if he'd think they're any more of a contender than where he is.
When you think about it, they got to solve the quarterback position. They got to figure out if it's
they're
Desmond
starting
Ritter
a rookie right now. So.
Yeah, they
or if
announced
it's somebody
Desmond
else.
Ritter.
And then, but they do have Kyle Pitts, and Arthur Smith knows how to use the running back tight end combination very well. So, that might be
Kyle
something to
Pitts is
consider.
much more of a receiver, not a blocker now.
Oh, no, he's not. I'm saying as a receiving tight end.
Yeah. Yeah. That's not going to help Derek any with Kyle Pitts because he ain't going to be in there blocking much.
But yeah, I'm just talking about, Derek creating opportunities for Kyle Pitts as an explosive playmaker and vice versa.
Terry,
I
try.
get you. Yeah, they run a lot of the same style stuff. A little more wide open than we were last year, but a lot of the same stuff. So,
well, listen, Westmoreland High School was more wide open than the Titans were last year. They run the wing tee.
Terry, I'm just anxious. That was good because it's probably true.
Well, and Terry was their play-by-play voice. He should know.
Well, he knows.
Everybody in tight. Looks like 11 men up on the line of scrimmage.
Run left.
It's a rugby scrum.
Oh, Lord, they threw a pass.
Hand off inside. 2nd and 8. Hand off inside.
Hey, the jet sweep got him a first down or two.
That a baby. First down.
Change it up a little bit.
So, Terry, let me try this one on you. The Predators caught a lot of wrath of season ticket holders for a while because the season ticket holders, who are the lifeblood of an NHL deal, really never felt like a plan was being told to them. And then all of a sudden, in early March, the plan became obvious whether anybody communicated it or not. They traded off a bunch of people. They fleeced Tampa, in my opinion, on Tanner Jeannot, who's a good player, but good Lord, they got that for Tanner Jeannot. So even though they didn't really communicate it, it became obvious. Will there be a point where the Titans have to communicate what is it you're doing?
I think so. I think, and I'm certainly not a Predators expert, but I think they were guilty of some of the same things maybe that a lot of people think the Titans are guilty of, in that they kept the current group that made a nice run or two together too long and didn't replace enough pieces along the way to keep changing out the core, but keeping the core successful. And I think that's kind of where the Titans are now. They've lost some core pieces and they haven't replaced those core pieces with other guys who can be core pieces. And, I think that's probably what caught up to the Predators too, George, as well, because the last couple of years they've run a lot of the same guys out there running it back, and it keeps coming up with less results every time. And I think the Titans got caught in that last year as well.
This is where Barry Trotz being hired quiets some of it down, because he is so popular in this community that, in my opinion, he has bought this franchise some time for what could be a couple of lean years. Who knows? On the other hand, they're sitting here tonight. They win at Pittsburgh. All of a sudden, something that we never saw coming might happen, and they might get the 8th position that only Watson Brown, he's the only human being on earth, saw this coming. Kudos to Watson. Did Watson, you have to turn on your mic.
Oh, I had to cough and I forgot to turn it back on.
You got to talk to us.
I said, crazy Watson.
Crazy Watson, yes.
Crazy Watson.
Crazy like a fox. So Terry, when does that moment, does it become obvious after the draft? Does it become obvious after June 1st? Because even a great mind like the crazy Watson Brown is not sure at this moment where they're going.
I think it comes closer to the trade deadline. I think they probably have to see what this team is and how it performs once it's all put together. I always used to hear that the biggest upsets, when you look back on a season, the biggest upsets always come in the first 2 or 3 weeks because supposedly the bad teams don't know yet that they're bad. So they continue to fight and plug away and look for ways to win. Then all of a sudden you wake up and you're 1-5, and then guys start to mail it in, so to speak. Not in a physical sense, but maybe emotionally. And therefore, I think you'll know after about 3 to 4 weeks of this regular season what direction the Titans need to go beyond this year.
Watson, I've got one more on my end. Anything on yours?
No, I'm anxious because I still think there's things to be done, and I'm anxious to see if they do them or they just kind of ride through this year, because I don't think we know that decision yet, Terry. I really don't. I'm not down on them at all. I'm just anxious to see what they do. But I think if they do anything drastic, they're going to have to give up a good player. That's what I think. And don't forget, we still got Simmons to take care of. That's a big piece too now. And they haven't done that yet either. So I'm telling you, there's still a lot of meat on the bone, as we say on the golf course. A lot of meat on the bone.
No doubt. And the Simmons thing can only help them with the cap, because they can structure that in a way to buy them a couple of years of, low cap hits with him. So to me, that's one of the first dominoes that has to fall this offseason in terms of what they are doing with this roster.
Yeah.
Okay, last thing. It appeared for all the world that they had really pissed off Kevin Byard. Where is that right now?
I think it's probably just kind of at a holding pattern, because I think Kevin Byard basically called their bluff. He's like, I'm not the reason we went 7-10. I'm still playing at a Pro Bowl level. And I think that in no uncertain terms, he kind of let them know that and the fact that, he's still playing at a high level. He didn't create the salary cap mess that they found themselves in, because he restructured his contract and did what they asked him to do. And yes, is he making too much money even for a Pro Bowl safety who's one of the top 3 or 4 at his position in the game? Yes, he probably is. But, he's not done anything that warrants a radical slash in his salary at this point either.
Terry, this is good stuff, as always.
One more, George,
real
quick.
Go ahead.
Terry, I think the defense is fixed. I think they're all right on defense. Their problems are offense. They've brought in a corner. They've taken care of Dupree. They brought in a guy that they think is going to be better than Dupree was. They've lost a few defensive guys, backups, but they're okay. They've still got some. I think their defense they fixed. They brought in a good linebacker, a better linebacker than I think we had. I really think this kid's bona fide. And if he stays healthy, which that's a big word around Titan camp, but I don't think the defense has got any problems. It's still on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I think much of this draft is going to be focused on the offense. I'd be surprised if they drafted more than 1 or 2 defensive players, because really, like you said, the only thing they need on defense is probably a little bit of depth. They could use a little bit of safety depth, maybe a little corner depth, maybe another linebacker. So you address a couple of those spots, 1 or 2 of those spots, and then I think you go all in trying to fix the offense in this draft.
Yep.
Terry, remember you heard this. Treylon Burks and a bunch of Billy Derricks.
God bless you, Billy.
Man. Well, I'm going to miss you. Stick it up for me after Monday.
Because Kelly sure as hell won't.
No, you're on your own, bud, come Monday. You might as well get ready.
I'm buckling up.
You and David are on your own come Monday.
Oh, man. Terry, thank you.
Good to see you, Terry.
Have a good one.
After the break, plaster bet of the day. Is it true? It is.
You broke the string.
It's about damn time. Stay tuned.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? How?
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
This is my buddy and former Nashville Sounds PA announcer Eric Berner. I always laughed in the old days at Greer Stadium when I would walk in, Eric would immediately play my favorite song, Van Halen's Jump. But then I learned he actually has a real job with Rockcastle Wealth Advisors.
Yeah, George, that's what I do. I help people in the pursuit of making their money live as long as they do. Everybody's situation is different, so I use a customized and individualized, personalized approach to the person I'm working with. Old 401ks, retirement planning, insurance planning, inheritance planning, those are things that people like to get some more information about.
One of the things I find is people don't even know where to start, and that's where you come in.
Yeah, so I can usually help people with an initial phone call or meeting that is a no charge and no obligation.
And I'll bet you have a phone number and a website.
I do, George. They can call me at 615-235-1058 or rockcastlewealth.com or Eric at rockcastlewealth.com.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. Visit NashvillePredators.com/season tickets and join the Loyal Legion today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets, and we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
Jody Jones has as nice a dental facility as you'll find anywhere. Let's go in and take a look.
Are you in the market for a new dentist? Maybe you're new to Nashville? Well, the place to go is Jody Jones Dentistry at 55 Music Square East, and their new facility is absolutely state-of-the-art. Jody mixes quality with comfort for the perfect dental experience. He's trusted for his creative design and committed to both the function and aesthetics of your smile. Jody is simply the total package. Don't wait. Make an appointment now at 615-259-5100.
A lot of red recently for George. I don't know what we can do to get him off this schneid. We got to figure something out, Watson, but we'll figure it out tonight again with another opportunity for George. It's brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law.
What are you talking about? I won last night.
Right, but when's the last time you won before that?
Nixon.
Right.
Boy, I mean, way to go, Billy. You're starting off good here, man. Take him on a little bit.
I'm trying to learn from you, Watson.
There you go.
While, but I'll get there.
Take him on.
Give Bart Durham a call at 615-242-9000 or log on to bartdurham.com. All right, let's check out what happened last night for George as we get that back up. Philadelphia with the win.
Joel Embiid.
You finally won betting against Dallas.
By the way, is anybody noticing that old Kyrie Irving has gone to Dallas and he has infected that team just like he's infected every team he's ever been on?
I would have never thought.
They're not going to make the playoffs.
He has ruined their chemistry.
Duh.
What's the saying, Watson? When you sleep with a dog, you'll end up getting fleas.
Yep.
Well, that's it. That's it right there.
You can't soar with the Eagles when you work with turkeys.
Nice. Okay. So God bless the 76ers. That was big. But now, Watson, we're going to start a streak.
The Blazers.
Yes, we're going with your old stomping grounds tonight.
I think they're 2-1 in the series. So
the Battle of Conference USA out of Las Vegas. Now, why am I saying this? I think UAB is slightly more athletic than North Texas, who will really get after you on defense. The difference will be what's the guy's name? The guard.
Jelly Walker.
Yeah. He will be the difference. Otherwise, if he's not, we'll be back in red tomorrow.
And how about Tim Brewer, who averaged 7 a game, scored 31 the other night. That don't hurt you, take you to the
that UAB team.
He scored 31 and he averaged 7 a game.
I think that team could have made a run in the real tournament. Look at what they've been doing. UAB? Yeah.
So Watson,
they're one of the few. Who else beat FAU? UAB is one of the people that beat FAU. I know that at home.
Middle beat FAU.
Did they?
I think you're right. Yep.
Yeah.
It was either I was thinking Middle.
I believe Arkansas also, Billy. Look that up really quick.
What are they? They've lost 3 times, I think.
North Texas lost to Florida Atlantic twice by 4 points. So 8 combined points.
So this is the third match, not the fourth.
This is the fourth.
This is the fourth.
This is the fourth between UAB and North Texas. North Texas won 2 of them.
Oh, I thought it was opposite that. So North Texas is 2-1.
Correct.
Huh.
So yeah, FAU lost at UAB in February, and then they lost at Middle in February. I'm trying to find their other loss because they've got 3 of them.
Yeah, to clarify, so North Texas won the 2 regular season games, and then UAB won the conference tournament game.
Okay.
So all of you need to listen because, to say the least, I'm due. It's time to go on a roll, and tonight we continue 2 in a row.
I'm going to give you a little advice. I'm going to give you a little advice when I'm not going to be on tomorrow.
Right.
Bet on the women. Bet on the women. You never go the women's route. You could get some good bets out of there, man.
Oh, okay. Tell me where I would find those.
Well, they got to have lines on the women's games.
No, they don't have to.
They don't have lines on the women's games?
Look, I'm not aware that they do. And
that would be amazing to me. With South Carolina and Iowa and tomorrow night.
LSU is a 2-point favorite over Virginia Tech tomorrow. Virginia Tech is the 1 seed.
Mm-hmm.
And then South Carolina is at 11.5-point favorite over Caitlin Clark in Iowa.
There you go.
Okay.
Where did you find this?
ESPN.
But what book? What does it say?
What book it is? Give me 1 second.
Because I haven't seen any of them on FanDuel.
The book is War and Peace.
That is Caesar's Sportsbook.
Really? Okay. So, Watson, you want me to go with Iowa tomorrow?
11.5 is a lot of points.
That's a lot of points. She's pretty damn good.
That's a lot of points. And I'm going to tell you, I think Virginia Tech's underrated.
Okay.
They're what, a two down dog?
Yeah, LSU is the 3 seed. Virginia Tech is the 1 seed, and LSU is a 2-point favorite.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Virginia Tech's better than people think they are. They've got a Caitlin Clark too. That's pretty good.
For you tomorrow, I will add Iowa on the women's side.
Okay. You're going to take the 11.5.
You're darn tootin' I am.
Okay. Thank you.
I've seen her play. She's pretty good.
And she will play good tomorrow night, even though they'll have 6 on her. There'll be 6 people guard her tomorrow night.
Watson, tomorrow our show will originate from First Horizon Park, home of the Nashville Sounds, their season opener, and of course their home opener. And so we're excited about that.
Good. You'll have a blast.
Bingo.
I know you'll have a blast because you'll be at peace back in a baseball stadium.
Amen. Amen. Listen, see you Monday for your spring finale.
my spring finale. See you Monday.
Okay, and see all of you. Thanks for being with us. We'll join you tomorrow from a ballpark very close to you.